Welcome everybody. I'm sure a few people will still filter in, but we're just doing some intro stuff and then we'll get into the goods. So hopefully everyone will join by then. But welcome again. Thank you for coming to the webinar. Today we're going to be talking about journeys in app messages, content builder, and some more stuff that's going to be coming down the road. I'm Sarah. I am a customer success manager here with Countly. I work with enterprise clients, helping them to enable best practices, feature use, implementation, and things along those lines. A little bit of housekeeping, brief agenda. As I mentioned, we're going to go through a little bit of a demo of our new features, use cases, and then as I mentioned, looking forward a little bit at Countly, and then we're going to finish up with a Q&A. So you should see an option on your screen to ask a question. Feel free to drop them in at any time. We'll get to them at the end. If we aren't able to reach your question, please reach out to your CSM or they'll reach out to you to make sure that you get an answer to your question. There will be a recording of the session. It'll be available next week. We have to send it out after the holiday and all that. So you guys will get a recording of it, or if it's a little too early for some folks for you, we'll get that to them. With us today, we have Onur. He's our CEO here at Countly. He's going to be walking us through the demo, showing us what's coming up, and helping to answer questions at the end. So without further ado, I'll hand it to Onur if you're ready, and you can take it away.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Hello, everyone. I'm Onur. I'm the CEO of Countly. And today I will be talking about like a very exciting set of features for you as the customers, but also for us as kind of stepping stones for the future of Countly. So let me quickly share my screen. So this will be a very practical session. I only have like 4 slides, I promise, but I want to do like a proper introduction because these new features are more than just features for us. So I just want to make sure that's properly conveyed as a message. As the slides tells the story, we see these as like the future of user engagement and retention, right? Journeys, content builder, and everything else we will be building around. So why do we think that? So if we think about Countly as a product, so we have a very strong data layer. Right? Data collection is quite powerful inside Countly, so you can properly represent your customers' actions, your customers' feedback, and also the issues your customers are facing within your application. And then we have a very powerful exploration layer, right? Features like cohorts, drill, funnels, formulas let you analyze this data in quite depth, right? You can go into any individual data point or individual customer or group of customers, so you can understand the user and customer behavior, in a quite detailed way. And we already have what we call an action layer, the features such as remote configuration, surveys, A/B testing, push notifications. These already work with the data available in Countly, right? So at the end of the day, you can trigger a survey, for example, based on a cohort entry of a user. So you can also do that same thing for a push notification, where you might be targeting a push after a user performs a particular event, right? However, that action layer, as you all know, we see that is a little bit too distributed, let's say. These features work very well with the data, right? But these are not necessarily working very well with each other, but also not in harmony, right? That's how we have been feeling lately, at least before introducing the new functionality. Thus, we are calling this like action layer 2.0, right? So journeys and content builder, the things that I will be talking about today, are part of this new layer. But an important way to think about this is these new functionalities is a new layer that will enable you to use the entire data set that you already have in Countly and act on that data to basically discover the potential of your data in full, right? So use the potential and discover the full potential of your data within a single platform. So that's the ultimate goal that we have. So these were all my slides, quick and easy. So let's jump into the UI directly. So I will be attempting a very risky thing today. So I'll be actually building journeys and contents with you live in the webinar. So in the dashboard, you will see a new menu item called Journeys on the sidebar, right? So this menu contains journey building experience itself, but also the content builder experience. So let's actually go into the journey building experience. So what we call a journey is basically, it's triggered by data, either incoming or calculated by Countly. Right? So what do I mean by that? So it can be triggered based on an incoming data point, such as an event, push notification, a new consent that came in from a user. It can be triggered based on another journey, right? So if the user exited the journey, it can be the beginning of another journey. Or it can be triggered based on cohorts, right? If a user enters a cohort or exits a cohort, this can be the beginning of a particular journey. Same with profiles. So if a user profile gets updated, or if a user enters a profile group, a journey can be triggered. So in our first example, I will actually go through 5 individual examples, right, for different purposes in the user journey. The first one would be about onboarding the user properly, right? So a very simple example, and I have a sample app here, and the application is not important, but it's basically a professional learning and skills tracker application, right? So where individuals in the companies sign up, they start lessons, they have goals within the application, so they are trying to get or learn new skills, get into quizzes, and basically improve their knowledge, right? So in this application, right, we have an onboarding process for individual users where we want them to define goals, right? So it's a very important part of our application logic. So we have an event for it, right? So if you look actually to our available events, you will see like goal created, goal completed. So these are actually 2 of our most important events that we track for our application. Right now, we are especially interested in the goal creation. Right, so I have already created a cohort for it, but I will just quickly describe what it does. So basically, we are interested in the group of users who have never created the goal. Right, so they signed up for our application, but they didn't actually go through the goal setting phase of our application. So clearly, that's an activation event, right? Without doing that event, like our app, logic or the meaning of our application is completely lost. So we want to nudge the user in the right direction. So maybe they are still playing around with the application, going into different sections, going into new lessons, etc. But we want everyone to set a goal, right? So for that, basically, we are interested in nudging the users who never set a goal at all, right? So the way we will do this is, when a user enters this cohort, we will actually display them an in-app message. So we will create a completely new one together, and we will actually introduce the content builder experience by that chance. So this is the new content builder, right? So it's a fully kind of customizable experience and content building experience that, as we will go through, visually you create messages for your end users and customers, right? So currently we have 4 content types. So for this example, I will just choose half model. My application is a web and mobile application. So here at the bottom, as you can see, I can actually preview how this content looks like in different resolutions, right? So on mobile, it will look like this. But if it's a web application and web screen, in that case, it will be something like this. So going back to the half model experience. So I want to show a close button. I will just need one button for my specific use case, because I want the user to go to a goal setting experience immediately. I have already uploaded all the items I need, but basically you can upload any image that you want and use that in your content building experience. So let's just select this one for this example. So our goal here is nudging the user to create a goal. Hopefully this is still, yeah, okay, was in my, it's saved. Okay, so here I am kind of editing my content and I have an action, right? So the key thing here is the action can go directly to some place inside my application, right? So for mobile, this would be a deep link, right? So I directly take the user to a specific place in the application. And in this example, it would be like I take the user to a goal setting screen. And obviously, we want the content to look and feel exactly like our own branding, right? So we don't want to show or displease our users by displaying horrible looking content. So every single aspect of this content is customizable. So let's do some adjustments. So this is my brand color. I don't know why I picked that one, but I did. So let's just go with it. So even spacing. So I'm not happy with how the spacing of the button looks from the button. So I adjusted a little bit. The image, maybe it can be a little bit larger. Yeah, sure, why not? Right. The spacing below the image, okay, I guess that works. I'm happy with how that looks. And then I save my content. So let's just name this Journey 1. Okay, so we were already in this experience of selecting an in-app message. So we went to the content builder and created a new content. So here we have a preview of our content. So basically, when the user enters this cohort, they will be eligible to receive this content as soon as possible, right? So here you will notice two settings, priority and expiry. So we have implemented a 3-level priority system, high, medium, low. So obviously, if you use journeys extensively to create enough messages, there will be a queue of messages that the user is eligible for. Right? So this priority selection is to make sure the messages are processed based on their priorities. Right? So the high priority ones will be, will be tried to be displayed to the user earlier than like low priority ones, for example. Right? And expiry, obviously, in this case of enough messaging, the user has to be inside the application in order to see this message. Right? So that's why if it's relevant, we want to enable kind of an expiration of this message. Right? So, okay, after 2 days, it's not relevant anymore, for example. Or in this case, I guess I want to keep this message as long as possible, right? Because this is about my activation event. It's about the onboarding of the user to my application. Thus, we are setting a long expiration period so that any user that fits this criteria will actually receive this message as soon as possible. Okay, so this was our first journey, simple one. We are just getting started. So onboarding, clearly you can prolong this further, right? So okay, users without a goal, we displayed them a message, and then maybe we check, for example, again. I mean, we can check the same thing, right? So whether the user actually exited the cohort, or I guess this would be a good way to think about it. So we are triggering the journey based on the user entering a cohort, right? So they don't have a goal yet. We display an in-app message to that user, and then we are checking whether they exited the cohort after the in-app message, right? So we can tie this logic together at the end of the day. We will get into more complicated examples. I just couldn't hold myself. Sorry. Okay, that was the first example. The second one, we will talk about guidance, right? So I guess in-app messages generally are thought of to be like promotional things, right? So we are not thinking it that way. Sure, that's part of the use cases, promotion, upselling, etc. But currently has very valuable data about your users, customers, especially if you are using it in its full force, right? So that's why any journey that you construct using that data will be super personalized for your individual customers, right? So that's why we want to go beyond thinking the usual use cases of like upselling, promotion, a simple pop-up, etc. So we want to take it a little bit deeper, essentially. In our second example, we will basically base it on an event, right? So this time we are aiming, as I mentioned in the beginning, our application is a learning application, right? So there are lessons in the app, there are goals, and there are quizzes, right? So our users can take quizzes inside the application. So I have this event that I use to track, quiz attempts of the users. I'm tracking the topics of the quiz, but I'm also tracking results, most importantly. So I want to specifically target users who have attempted a quiz but failed at that quiz. Right? So this is directly about the logic of my application. Right? Like, okay, let's take the journey. I didn't need to. So in this case, I want to help them, right? Because I know something is off with their experience, right? So they were taking lessons in my app and they took a quiz and then it didn't go through, right? So they failed at the quiz. I want to help them, but also at the same time, maybe I don't want to do that like too soon, right? So like the quiz failed, I immediately give the user a pop-up. So let's just wait slightly, right? So maybe not immediately, but like let's do it like at least, let's say 12 hours later. And then I show them an in-app message, right? So I will not prepare each of the messages or content. So I have a ready one here. So I'll just zoom in slightly. So struggling with that topic, let's review the lesson, right? So, and then this goes directly to the lesson. So as you see, this is directly my application's logic related, right? So normally these sorts of things live inside the application, right? So that's a big struggle, especially trying to keep the branding. Like this is developers are needed in order to change these messages, etc. But we are taking all of that away, right? So you can do this level of stuff directly related to your application within Countly. Right, so very important point. So we don't want you to think about our in-app messaging as just another pop-up tool. Guidance. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so that was our second journey. Third journey. So this time, let's get into upselling. Right. So upselling, promotion, or just selling, whatever you want to call it. It's important to do that at the right point, right? Because we don't want to annoy our free users, for example, constantly kind of asking them to upgrade, especially without context, right? That's the most common mistake, I think. Right? So I just signed up and the tool is bombarding me with all these promotional material about like a paid tier, right? Sure, I would want to know, right? But at the correct time. Right? If you were wondering how it can be done. Our journeys enable that, actually. So this time we will use a profile update trigger, right? Because we have a property in our user profiles about, two things. One, a learning streak and a planned tier, right? So we use this property in order to track kind of like the weekly usage of the user, right? So, if the user did a learning session in a particular week, basically we increment this numerical field on the Countly side. So for us, basically, if a user has a learning streak more than 2, it means the user has been consistently using the application for 2 weeks, right? Clearly an active user, clearly someone we want to target immediately. We are adding another property there because we don't want to show this to already paid tier customers, right? So we want to just attack like the free tier users with a learning streak of 2 or more, right? And then we do what we want to do, right? So the pop-up that we want to show our customers so badly in terms of doing like going to like a pro tier or a paid tier, etc. And it can be, at this point, it can be customizable, right? Because we know the conditions, right? So in this case, the condition was actually like a 2-week streak. So in my message, unfortunately, I didn't mention the 2 weeks. But basically, this is like a very personalized experience at the right point, and your customers or users upgrading to a paid tier after this message is quite high in terms of probability. So, very simple to set things up, right? And then immediately you will be collecting the results. So this would be our third example. Call it upsell. Okay. Fourth example will be about retention, right? So clearly, onboarding the user, guiding the user, and then asking the user to go to a more favorable plan based on their usage are all great. But these are things that are milestones, so to speak. So we are just trying to get the user out of their stuck point within our application, right? So onboarding failed. Okay, we helped them. Quiz failed. Maybe they needed some, motivation, and then we gave them that motivation, and then we kind of tried to sell them to a higher tier, and then now, after making sure the user is there inside the application, we need to do these small nudges to keep the user engaged, active, and noticing the relevant part of our application that we know they will like a lot, right? So in this example, we will actually use, again, an event, right? So an event trigger. So as I mentioned, there are pretty much like 3, quiz attempted and goal completed, and together with, lessons completed. Those 3 things are super important in my application, right? So these mean the user are actively engaging. Like sessions don't matter to me, really, right? So I'm interested in understanding the real usage of my application. So basically, a user completing a lesson is a point where they are highly engaged with your application, right? So this is the point where you should be like, okay, what's next, right? So what can I do further, or like give them guidance in terms of momentum, right? So because we want to keep that momentum of the user, that's what retention is, right? So you need to give something for the user, a reason for them to come back, right? So in this example, we will do exactly that. And while doing that, we will actually use a logical block, something we didn't use before. This time around, we will be using, again, the learning streak property, right? So we want to do let's do greater than 2 again, right? So we can add an else case. I'm not going to use it really, but let's do that. So in this case, again, an in-app message. So I guess maybe, sorry. Yeah. Okay, so I needed to do that condition 3 in order to fit my message, but you got the idea. So basically you have built 3 weeks of momentum ready for a 5-day challenge, right? So I'm just giving the user something else. I know the user is highly likely to complete this because I know exactly their behavior at this point, right? They have been on a 3-week streak. They just completed a lesson in my application. This is the moment, right? So just give them something else, something useful to do them, for them to do as a next step inside your application, right? Super critical. I mean, these look very easy when I talk about it like this, but if you try to do this as application logic in your coding, these would take quite a few weeks, each of them. I would say, especially if you are working in that agile, planning mentality. So yeah, this was our 4th journey. So it was about momentum. And 5th and final journey is a 2-part journey, actually. So because in the beginning, I talked about the ability to chain journeys together, right? Because we have this journey exit trigger, actually. So how it's relevant, like I'll go through it with an example, I guess. So when as I mentioned, so we have this goal completion event, right? So I want to start first part of my journey with that, right? Goal completion. So clearly, again, super important point for the user, right? They completed one of their goals inside the application. So for sure, at that point, we need to do something, right? So okay, let's go. I mean, it's up to you whether you want to do it immediately or we can wait a little, right? So maybe 2 hours, 4 hours, etc. Maybe some wait can be nice in this specific example. But the idea is we keep them going, right? So again, it's about momentum. Once we figure out or iron out the issues or problems the user might be having, the next goal is momentum, right? So we have to keep the user going. And going in the right direction, most importantly. So we are giving them a next thing to do, right? So basically, let's call it journey 5.1 because it will be 2-parting. Let's call it chain of momentum. Let's be artistic. Chain of momentum. So in my 2nd part of the journey, I will use an exit from that journey we just created, right? So, I mean, very simple, right? So that was a very simple journey, but here the idea is we want you to also break your customer experience into parts, right? Because we didn't really envision anyone to create an end-to-end, singular journey within Countly. That's why there is the ability to create multiple journeys in Countly, right? And when you tie them together, then you have the ultimate advantage at the end of the day, right? Because you have your data, sure, that data gives you a representation of your customer, right? So, okay, here are the properties of my customer, here are their actions, right? Using journeys, you know where they are within, the expected usage of the customer within the application, and tying journeys together gives you a high level of complexity when it comes to targeting, right? So what the user did, and by targeting, for example, an exit from that previous journey, I know they already went through that and received a certain message. So not only I know their data, I know their state in my application when triggering a journey like this one, right? So, and then here I can do, I guess, again, very simple example. So yeah, here I want to wait again for a couple of hours. Let's again say 12. And then I want to display them like a tips and tricks sort of information. I guess we can look into this specific in-app message because like this is a more complex one. But at the end of the day, I'm giving them useful content, right? So I know this user has been completing goals, just completed one, right? And then I'm immediately feeding the user tips and tricks because I know like the user is hungry for more and the user is actively looking for more opportunities to take advantage of my application. Okay. So just to quickly visit, I guess that slightly more complicated content type. So that was a full screen content type, right? So in this type, we allow you to have a little bit more complex content, such as like a blogs, multiple blogs with their own images, titles, descriptions. It can even be a carousel if you want to do like a multi-page implementation. So that's for now, that's the only complex content type, let's put it that way. The other ones are less, I guess, like more direct, like a pop-up, a modal, a sticky, and half modal. But the full screen content type is a richer content type. Let's put it that way. I forgot to mention one thing, so let's go to a simpler content, which is localization. All right, very important topic. All of our customers, almost, they have international businesses, and there are different users with different language settings. So, as you know, Countly already knows the language of your users, right? So this is not an extra step, basically. So this is automatically tracked already out of the box. So we know the device languages of your customers. So if you want, you can localize each of the elements in this message to a specific language, right? So this is out of the box. This is what we want to do in every single user-facing content in Countly, such as surveys for the long run. I guess like I will change the topic to what's ahead for us for the near future, but if my camera doesn't fail me, that will be great. Okay. Cool. Okay, before I get into, I'm sorry, camera for some reason doesn't work. Before I get into the future plans, I want to touch upon the support, the platform support and availability in its current state. So in our documentation, support.countly.com, you'll find detailed guides under the knowledge base. So there is user guides about journeys and content builder, but also under SDK integration, you'll have detailed guides about creating in-app messages, and we already support it for Android, iOS, web, Flutter, and React Native SDKs. Super easy to use, right? So at the end of the day, like this is the integration pretty much, right? So you don't need to, for every message, you don't need to change something on your application. So after the first integration, it's almost fully magic. So you can fully depend on Countly for the rest. For SDK specific details, because some of these methods, function calls, they can have configurable parts. So you can check the individual SDK documentation for those details. And yeah, currently mobile and web both are supported. It's already multi-platform, but we have a lot of SDKs. We will support journeys and content builder in all of the SDKs that can technically support such functionality. So that's the goal. So if we get into, I want to leave some time for any questions, maybe just a 5-minute kind of talking about the future part. So for that, let me go back to this slide set. So here, in terms of the action layer, right? So currently, journeys, as you have seen, it's about displaying enough messages to the user, right? So it's nothing else at the end of the day. It's just enough messages, and journeys control how you display those messages or when you display those messages to the user. But we didn't create journeys just for enough messages, right? So we created journeys so that it's kind of, it contains everything else we do, right? So what do I mean by everything else? I mean all of these things, right? I mean, triggering or changing a remote config variable based on the user journey. I mean, sending a push notification based on where the user is in their journey. I mean, like sending a survey, a rating, an NPS based on where the user is. So we want journeys to be an engine at the end of the day that contains all these different action parts of Calendly, right? Okay. So yeah, basically everything we do in terms of acting on the data will soon be available in journeys. So that's the goal. Not only that, but also we have been working on very exciting stuff when it comes to AI, right? So clearly, Calendly has 1 million applications of AI. So from onboarding, guidance, making sense of your data, and when it comes to journeys, things like automating or at least getting the help of AI when it comes to what are the journeys to work on, or like the impact of possible journeys that you are thinking about. So you will see AI all over Calendly. We didn't want to do it like okay, Calendly has AI. Here is a very simple implementation. So we're really working on making it proper across the board, right? But clearly, journeys and anything touching to journeys is of significant importance for the future of the product. That's why that will be one of the first places that you will see the good implementations of AI within Calendly. That being said, I'm just thinking whether I forgot to mention any details. Yeah, I guess from my side, that's pretty much it. That's journeys and content builder. These are actively being developed as we speak. We'll be doing that, I guess, for the rest of history. So these will be like primary parts of Calendly going forward. We know we can be really powerful in this area of customer engagement. But we don't want to turn into like a marketing automation platform at the end of the day. This is for the purposes of getting the right content in front of the right customer for a purpose. This is not for the sake of let's send 1 million messages at the same time. But let's send 1,000 that we are sure that they will convert. Right? So that's the goal at the end of the day. Okay, so that's it from me. Any questions? Happy to answer.
Yeah, there's a few questions that came through, and we do have time. If you have a question, please drop it in the Q&A. But a few that came through. First one is, how does Countly's approach to in-app messaging differ from other tools that focus solely on engagement?
Yes, yeah, I was almost getting into that question actually, right at the end. But the data, right? The power of data, the power of having like a full-fledged, complex analytics tool underneath of all of this is the key, right? So that's how we are different. Maybe, I mean, in terms of delivering an in-app message, clearly an in-app message is an in-app message, right? So it looks in a certain way, it can be displayed at a certain point in the customer journey within an application, but doing it at the right time, right? So that's where we differ. That's where we will always differ, right? Pick any engagement tool out there. They will tell you they have analytics, right? Their analytics will be super surface level, high level. Okay, the user did trigger this thing, right? Or the user visited this page, right? We are giving you like the intention of the user. We are giving you like a full representation of the user in user profiles. So with that information, just imagine like the potential you have when it comes to influencing the experience of the user. So that's what we want to do. The market there is, obviously it's a very saturated, complex market. Engagement, marketing, all those tools, and there are like super large companies in those spaces. But again, we are trying to do the impossible, right? Combining these two together, analytics, powerful analytics with these engagement tools. So that's the difference that we have.
Awesome. I think this question kind of piggybacks off that a little bit. So, is there a way to measure the impact of a journey or a specific in-app message on user behavior over time?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great question. Well, actually, these will be, I think, released pretty quickly. Currently, actually, I didn't show it, so I probably should have. Each journey has a results page. Clearly, we display like how many people or users went through the journey, how many of those interacted with a specific content in that journey. So currently, on a per content basis, we actually track interaction, right? So you can know specifically what the user interacted with in terms of, in our examples, clicking one of those action buttons, for example, is an interaction from our point of view. So this data is already in Drill. So basically, anywhere you can, use Drill data, like building a cohort, right? Or Drill itself, creating a report out of these content interactions. So these all will be very soon be available, but we want to go a little bit further, right? So that's actually part of the data pipelines that you might have noticed in the slides. So generating or creating events during the journey is also something we want to get into, right? So basically, it means just like those blocks of in-app messages, conditional if trigger, we want to have like a trigger event block or update user profile block, right? And the purpose being these journeys will directly contribute to your data quality, right? So you not only impact the user experience, but also you are making your data actually better by having or building these journeys, right? So that's the idea. Yeah.
All right. Last question I think we'll be able to get to today is what kind of teams do you see using journeys? Product, marketing, or others?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great question. So currently is a multi-team product as is, right? So in most of the organizations we work with, the product team, the engineering team, business teams, marketing teams, customer success teams, they are somewhat touching the platform, right? So they are interested in either a dashboard that was prepared for them, or they want to go to Drill and really filter out the details, or marketing team comes in and creates a push notification in the platform. So that's the way we envision the journeys being used. Actually, just like the rest of the platform, this is a multi-team feature. So clearly there is the content side, content builder, maybe like a marketing team could be building the content itself inside the content builder. And the journey itself might be set up together with product team, engineering, maybe marketing, maybe the business teams. Like maybe like journeys could be seen more of a multi-team efforts and collaborative part of Canvas. But yeah, like this is not unique to journeys for sure. I see like all parts of Canvas as a like multi-team thing, really.
Awesome. So I think those are all the questions I think we'll get to today. There's a one or two that I think will be better answered offline. So as I mentioned before, reach out to your customer success manager if you are on Flex. There is Discord to be able to communicate on as well. But I think we are all set. So thank you again, everybody, for joining today and taking the time out of your day. As mentioned, any other questions, and then the recording will be sent, as I mentioned, next week. So keep an eye on your email, wait for that to come out, forward it to everybody, and make sure everyone's aware of journeys and in-app messages. Thank you, Anur, for walking us through that. It was really helpful. I even learned a
Thank
few.
you very much.
That was great.
Glad to hear. Glad to hear. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you, everybody. Have a great, wonderful day.